Have you ever wondered what happens after death? Not from fear, but from a place of deep stillness. Is there a soul wandering from one life to another? Or is rebirth something far more subtle, far more compassionate than we imagine? The Buddha didn't offer easy answers. He offered a mirror to look deeply into the nature of becoming. In today's story, we journey beyond belief, beyond fear, into the heart of one of the most profound truths in Buddhism. This is Trandy Wisdom, where each story opens a doorway to truth. Join us now as we explore Buddha's thoughts on rebirth. 1. Rebirth is not reincarnation. No soul travels on. In the hush of a forest at dawn, when the mist has not yet lifted from the leaves and the birds call, without asking why, one might sense the deep pulse of continuity flowing through all life. This continuity, delicate and vast, is what the Buddha pointed to when he spoke of rebirth, not as the journey of a self, but as the unfolding of conditions, not as the return of a soul, but as the blooming of seeds once planted. Rebirth in Buddhism is often misunderstood. It is not the transmigration of a soul, nor the eternal return of a fixed identity. The Buddha did not teach that a you travels from one life to another, like a guest changing houses. Instead, he taught that what moves forward is not a self, but the consequences of actions, the echo of intentions, the imprint of the mind. A flame is lit from another, and while the second flame burns with fire, it is not the same flame. Yet, it is not different either. This paradox rests at the heart of dependent origination paticcasamuppada, the teaching that all things arise through causes and conditions, and nothing exists independently, not even the idea of me. In the Samyutta Nikaya, SN 1261, the Buddha offered a profound truth. He who sees dependent origination sees the Dharma. He who sees the Dharma sees me. This is not a metaphysical declaration. It is an invitation to look deeply into the nature of becoming, not from the standpoint of belief, but of seeing. The Buddha's rejection of a permanent self is not nihilism. It is compassion, for it is only when we release the illusion of a solid I that we begin to touch the vast freedom of what truly is. The doctrine of anatta, or non-self, is not meant to disturb, but to liberate. Like a hand unclenching, like a breath exhaled after long tension. Imagine a river that flows without ever holding on to its water. It moves, not by carrying the same drops, but by allowing new water to pass. So too, the stream of becoming flows. The body changes. The mind flickers. Emotions rise and fall, like moonlight on the ocean's surface. What is reborn is not a fixed traveler, but the stream itself, conditioned by karma, guided by ignorance or wisdom. In the Milinda Panya, the monk Nagasena was asked by King Milinda, "Is it the same person who is reborn?" Nagasena replied, "There is no being that transmigrates, but there is rebirth." He likened it to the milk that turns into curd, then butter, then ghee, different stages, yet linked through a chain of conditions. It is neither the same nor completely other. This understanding is central to the middle way. It avoids both the eternalist view that there is an enduring soul and the annihilationist view that nothing continue. The Buddha walked the path between these two extremes, revealing a way of seeing that is at once precise and mysterious. In the Dhammapada, verse 153, the Buddha reflected, "Through many births I wandered, seeking the builder of this house. Sorrowful is repeated birth. O house builder, you are seen, you will build no house again." These lines do not lament existence, but illuminate its structure. The house builder is craving ignorance, and clinging forces that shape the conditions of rebirth. When these forces end, the house is no longer rebuilt. There is no more re-arising. But this freedom is not cold emptiness. It is warm with compassion. It blossoms with presence. When one realizes that there is no solid ego, there is also no other. The barrier between self and world dissolves, and the heart, unburdened, opens. In the Visuddhimagga, the great meditation manual, the stages of consciousness are outlined not to fix a self in time, but to show the intricate dance of mind moments. One moment ceases, another arises not as reincarnation, but as succession. Like waves on the sea, each arising is conditioned by the last, yet none hold permanence. To walk the path of the Dharma is to observe this arising and ceasing with gentle attention. Breathing in, we are aware of birth. Breathing out, we are aware of letting go. In every breath, the seeds of becoming are either watered or released. So what then is reborn? Not the I we cling to, not the name we are called, not the stories we tell. What continues is a pattern, a process, a karmic momentum shaped by every thought, word, and deed. The mind, conditioned by habits, seeks continuity, and the universe responds. But the moment of clarity, the stillness of mindfulness, can interrupt this stream. With deep seeing, the pattern breaks. When the Buddha was asked by the wanderer Vajragata whether there is a self, he remained silent. Why? Because any answer would have bound the mind to concepts. He refused to support either delusion. His silence was not ignorance. It was the echo of truth, too subtle for language. To practice the Dharma is to dwell in that silence not with fear, but with joy. To touch the unborn, the unconditioned, the space where neither birth nor death holds sway. In that space, there is no rebirth, and yet compassion flows still, like a river that does not cease. Let us not be preoccupied with where we will go, but with how we are now. For in this very moment, karma is formed. In this very breath, the next world is shaped. If we live with mindfulness, compassion, and understanding, we water the seeds of peace not only for ourselves, but for all beings. The Buddha taught, all phenomena are preceded by the mind. Mind is their chief. They are mind-made. Dhammapada, verse 1. If we purify our minds, we purify our path. If we release clinging, we release the cycle. And when that moment arrives, when the stream quiets, when the house is no longer built, there is no traveler, no arrival, only peace, only the great silence of liberation. 2. Rebirth happens through conditions, not a self. At the edge of a quiet valley, where wind moves through reeds and mountain light spills gently across the earth, life continues softly, without fanfare. A fallen leaf feeds the roots of a tree. A raindrop becomes mist. A child is born. Somewhere, a life ends. Nothing is carried. Nothing is lost. And yet, the unfolding goes on, perfectly conditioned, exquisitely precise. This is the rhythm the Buddha spoke of, not the return of a self, but the continuity of causes and effects. Rebirth is not a traveler crossing from one life to the next. It is a process, a momentum of conditions that carry forward. What moves is not someone, but the unfolding of karma, shaped by craving, ignorance, and intention. In Buddhist thought, there is no enduring essence, no soul waiting in line for the next body. The Buddha did not affirm a self. He dismantled it with loving clarity. What we call self is only a collection of aggregates: form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. These rise and pass with each breath. None of them can say, "This is me." In the Majjhima Nikaya MN 38, the Buddha explained that craving is the bridge linking one existence to another. Craving for becoming, for non-becoming. For experience, it is this thirst that draws forward the stream of consciousness. Not a self with a passport, but a current propelled by clinging. The body dies, but craving does not, unless deeply seen and let go of. It generates becoming again. This chain of becoming is illustrated in Paticca Samuppada, the 12-fold dependent origination. It is not a theory, but a mirror reflecting the construction of our suffering. Ignorance conditions mental formations. Formations condition consciousness. Consciousness conditions name and form. And so the spiral begins, ending with birth, you aging, and death. The Buddha said, "He who sees dependent origination sees the Dharma." What we are witnessing is not a being moving forward, but conditions giving rise to new conditions. The final thought moment at death, Kuddhicitta, ceases and immediately gives rise to the rebirth linking consciousness, Patisandhicitta, in another existence. There is no soul crossing over. There is only continuity, like the echo of a bell, fading in one place, resounding in another. In the Visuddhimagga, a foundational meditation manual, the Abhidhamma outlines this process with great subtlety. Consciousness is not a stream, but a series of flashes arising, ceasing, and giving rise to the next. One mind moment dies, another is born, conditioned by what came before. It is not personal, it is law. It is nature itself. Picture a lotus blooming in a still pond. It emerges from mud it cannot see, shaped by nutrients it never chose. Its petals open not because it wills them to, but because of sunlight, warmth, and time. The lotus does not carry anything from seed to flower. It simply unfolds, so too. Rebirth unfolds, not as a person carrying a history, but as the continuation of impersonal processes shaped by past actions. The Buddha's teaching on rebirth through conditions is not meant to be mysterious. It is meant to be freeing. If there is no self moving through lifetimes, then there is no burden to carry, no identity to defend, no soul to lose. What remains is presence. What remains is the power of intention here, now, in Dhammapada. Verse 165. The Buddha taught by oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. This verse is often misunderstood. Oneself does not refer to a permanent being, but to the processes of volition and awareness. It is our actions, not our essence, that shape the future. And so, each moment becomes sacred. Each thought becomes a seed. We are not chained to rebirth. We are bound by ignorance. When ignorance fades, so too does the machinery of becoming. The Buddha described the end of this cycle not as disappearance, but as release. When the causes cease, so do their effects. When craving is abandoned, the stream dries up. There is a story of a monk who asked the Buddha, "Where does one go after death?" The Buddha replied with silence. Then he spoke, "It is like a fire that goes out. Where does it go? In which direction?" The question dissolves when one sees that the fire did not go anywhere. It ceased because its conditions ended. To understand rebirth is to understand the intimacy of this very moment. We often imagine future lives as distant, but they are being built here, now. The tone of your voice, the shape of your thought, the intention behind your breath, all of it becomes part of the unfolding. In every action, we plant causes. In every silence, we create space for transformation. There is no need to believe in a next life, to practice deeply. There is no need to grasp at doctrine. The miracle lies in seeing clearly how this life is conditioned, how even your anger has causes, how your compassion can be nurtured, how peace is not random, but grown from mindful soil. When we walk with awareness, we do not need to know where we are going. We become the path. When we act with love, we do not need to wait for future reward. Love becomes its own fruit. This is the Dharma not as belief, but as direct knowing. The Buddha taught, all things arise from causes, all things cease from causes. The Tathagata has explained the causes and also their cessation. Anguttara Nikaya. This teaching is not philosophical. It is practical. It invites us to examine the roots of our thoughts, the weight of our words, the fire behind our habits. To live is to be part of this vast net of causes and conditions. To awaken is to stop clinging to the illusion of the self within it. When we no longer ask, where will I go? And instead ask, what am I doing now? That is when freedom begins. Rebirth, then, is not a mystery. It is the echo of now. And in the stillness of this very breath, we hold the power to shape what comes next, or to let it end. 3. Karma and the wheel of becoming. In the heart of the forest, beneath the shelter of ancient trees, life breathes quietly. A deer lifts its head. A seed falls to the earth. Wind moves across the skin of a pond without asking for permission. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is forgotten. In the deep silence of nature, the law of karma unfolds, not as judgment, not as punishment, but as the quiet logic of the universe remembering itself. Karma, in its original sense, means action, not fate, not cosmic revenge. Simply this: every volitional action plants a seed. Every thought, every intention, every movement of the heart sets something in motion. And what is set in motion will unfold now, later, or lifetimes from now, according to its causes and conditions. The Buddha taught, volition, monks, is karma. Having willed, one acts by body, speech, and mind. Anguttara Nikaya, NA 6.63. Karma is not some mysterious force outside of us. It is the echo of what we do with what we are given. It is the mirror held up by life, moment after moment. The world we experience is not random. It is intimate. It reflects our deepest habits, our forgotten intentions, the words we spoke in haste, and the silences we held in love. Karma is not carried like baggage. It ripens, like fruit, in the field of becoming. This is what sustains the wheel of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, the endless turning of becoming bhava. In the 12 links of dependent origination, paticca samuppada, karma appears early, just after ignorance. From ignorance comes volitional formation. From formation, consciousness. From consciousness, name and form. And so the wheel begins to turn, again and again. Each rotation of the wheel is built upon craving, clinging, and becoming. These three are not gods or demons. They are patterns in the mind. The longing to grasp, the fear of loss, the illusion of permanence. These are the threads that weave the tapestry of continued becoming. And karma is the loom. A kind word spoken to a stranger in a dark hour may become the light that saves their life. A harsh word, flung in anger, may reverberate for years in someone's heart. The consequences are not always visible, but they are always present. In the Dhammapada, verse 1, the Buddha said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an impure mind, suffering follows him. If a man speaks or acts with a pure mind, happiness follows him. Karma does not bind us. Clinging to karma does. The wise do not fear karma, for they see that it is shaped by intention, and intention can be purified. One can act with compassion instead of greed, with wisdom instead of delusion. In every moment, the path forks toward bondage or liberation. Imagine a potter shaping clay on a wheel. Each touch, each pressure from the hand, reshapes the vessel. Our lives are like that clay. We are the shapers, and we are the shaped. Our actions today are forming the vessel of tomorrow's experience. But the wheel never stops unless we take our hands away. The Buddha's own awakening began with seeing this law with total clarity. He traced his past lives not through memory but through the pattern of karma. In the Majjhima Nikaya MN 36, he describes how, on the night of his enlightenment, he saw the arising and passing of countless beings in all realms, all according to their karma. He did not see souls moving, but movements of cause and effect, like waves rising and falling on the great ocean of mind. And yet, karma is not deterministic. This is its great tenderness. The past may incline us, but it does not imprison us. We may have planted seeds in anger, but we can water them with mindfulness. We may have harmed, but we can now begin to heal. We can walk a new path with every breath. The Visuddhimagga speaks of karma as both weighty and subtle. Some karma bears fruit immediately, like touching fire. Some ripens slowly, like seeds sleeping in winter. And some may never ripen, if the conditions are not met. Karma is not rigid. It is alive. There is a teaching that says, just as the great ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so too does the Dharma have one taste, the taste of liberation. Karma, when seen through the lens of wisdom, becomes not a chain but a compass. It shows us where we have been and where we are going. But it does not bind our feet. The path is open. Many ask, if there is no self, who receives the fruits of karma? The answer lies in the nature of process. A mango tree grows from a seed. The fruit does not resemble the seed, but it is connected. In the same way, the person who experiences the fruit is not the same as the one who sowed the seed, but none different either. It is the continuation of conditions. It is the story the universe tells itself. And when mindfulness blossoms, karma changes. It no longer pushes us blindly. It becomes a teaching, a mirror, a friend. Even suffering becomes a doorway. The Buddha once said, "One who knows suffering knows its cause. One who knows its cause can find its end." Samyutta Nikaya. To walk the path of awakening is to step out of the wheel's momentum. We stop running. We stop reacting. We start seeing. In that seeing, we choose kindness over blame, clarity over confusion, presence over habit. The wheel of becoming turns for all who grasp. But for those who release, the wheel slows. And in the stillness between revolutions, there is space for peace to arise. Not after death. Not in some distant heaven. Here, in this moment, in the space between your in-breath and out-breath. Karma is not a sentence. It is a responsibility. It is a reminder that what we do matters deeply. And yet, we are free to begin again, to choose love, to plant peace in this life and in whatever may follow. 4. The cessation of rebirth beyond the cycle. There comes a moment, sometimes in the hush between two heartbeats, or in the pause before a bird takes flight, when we feel the world standing still, not in emptiness, not in absence, but in an ungraspable fullness. In that moment, time softens. The weight of becoming dissolves. What remains is not a person, not a destination, but space clear, open, and free from the endless motion of becoming. This is what the Buddha pointed to when he spoke of the cessation of rebirth. Not a place, not a disappearance, not a reward, but the ending of the causes that give rise to birth and death. The cycle does not end because something travels out of it. It ends because the fire is no longer fueled. Rebirth, as taught by the Buddha, is not a divine plan or a metaphysical contract. It is the unfolding of causes. And as with any unfolding, it can cease when the causes are removed. Just as a lamp goes out when oil and wick are gone, so too does the wheel of samsara come to rest when ignorance, craving, and clinging are exhausted. In the Ativuttaka 44, the Buddha said clearly, "The end of birth is nibbana." This is not an escape, it is a homecoming. It is the ending of false construction. In this quiet liberation, there is no rebirth, not because something has fled the cycle, but because the machinery of the cycle has ceased. This truth is not abstract. It is immediate. Each moment holds the seeds of either continuation or cessation. When we act with craving, we strengthen becoming. When we see clearly with mindfulness, we begin to loosen the wheel. The path is not beyond us. It is beneath our feet. The end of rebirth is the realization that there was never a permanent self to carry forward in the first place. We are the dance of conditions, beautiful, mysterious, momentary. The fear of non-existence dissolves when we see that our true nature is not in the things that arise and pass, but in the space that holds them. In the Udana 8.1, known as the Fire Sermon, the Buddha spoke of the one who is fully liberated. Untraceable is the path of the one who has reached the end, like the flight of a bird in the sky. There is no more footprint, no more return. This is not annihilation. It is freedom from construction. It is peace that does not rely on form. There is a gentle courage in letting go. The world teaches us to build, to gather, to become. But the Buddha invites us to stop, to breathe, to watch the movement of thought without chasing it, to feel sensation without owning it. In this still observation, something beautiful happens. The causes of becoming begin to fade. The Sutta Nipata, in its verses on liberation, speaks of the sage who neither clings to the past nor constructs the future, who dwells in the present without attachment. Such a one, it says, is like a lotus untouched by water, like a mustard seed balanced on the tip of a needle. This is the image of non-return, not because the sage has leapt from one world to another, but because nothing remains to be drawn back. And what is left when becoming ceases? Not nothing, but not a thing. A reality that cannot be measured. A stillness that is not dead, but profoundly alive. In the Nibbana Sutta, the Buddha describes it as the unborn, the unmade, the unconditioned. Without birth, there is no aging. Without aging, no death. Without these, suffering no longer finds its path. To live toward the cessation of rebirth is not to live apart from life. It is to live with full presence, full care. We do not renounce the world with bitterness. We release our clinging with gentleness. Every mindful step becomes a step away from continuation. Every breath taken in awareness is a breath returned to the present. There is a sweetness in simplicity, a joy in letting go. The sage does not fear the end of becoming. She knows that true peace lies not in the repetition of forms, but in the quiet resting of the heart. The river does not mourn when it merges with the sea. In Samyutta Nikaya SN 3587. The Buddha compared liberation to a flame that, when blown out, does not go anywhere. It simply ceases to burn. Where does it go? The questioner asks. It does not go anywhere. The Buddha replies, it has gone out. The cessation is not movement, but the absence of the need to move. If we look deeply, we see that we are always seeking to become something better, safer, happier, more complete. This movement is natural, but it is also the very mechanism of rebirth. The moment we cease to grasp, we cease to become. And in that moment, something vast opens, not an experience, not a thing, but the groundless ground of being. To touch the end of becoming is to see that nothing has ever truly belonged to us. Not the body, not the thoughts, not the story. And in that release, we are not diminished, we are whole. The Buddha did not ask us to believe in the end of rebirth. He asked us to walk the path that leads there. That path is the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. It is not a ladder to climb. It is a mirror in which to see. Each step we take with understanding weakens the need for return. Each act of compassion interrupts the cycle. Each silence held in stillness allows the world to settle. And when the heart is still, and the mind clear, and the craving extinguished, then the wheel stops. Not because we have vanished, but because we have arrived. Rebirth is not about where we go after this life. It's about how we live this life, moment to moment, breath to breath. The Buddha didn't ask us to believe, he asked us to look deeply, to walk with awareness, and to touch the present with compassion. Because when we understand the nature of becoming, we begin to understand how to be free. Thank you for sharing this quiet space with us. If this story has touched something in you, consider subscribing, liking, or sharing it with someone who needs it. You are always welcome here at Trandy Wisdom, where every story is a living truth.